Hello, everybody. Drew Dosek here with Verified Investing. And today we've got some currencies to go over with you. We're going to look at these charts and really give you a good roadmap for where current price on these currencies is looking to go. All right. So first off, let's jump into the charts and tackle DXY. Now, what we're about to go through with each of these charts is really illustrated and highlights the fact of this massive weekly bottoming tail on the DXY. For those not familiar, the DXY is the US dollar index. All right. So this weekly bottoming tail occurred on January 26th. All other major currencies are priced against the US dollar. So this sort of massive move on a chart is going to impact every other chart. And we'll explain that once we get into it. So, but for the most immediate near term, let's zoom in a little further and look at this parallel channel that we're in for the DXY. As I said, we established a great weekly bottoming tail holding the bottom range of this parallel channel. The levels on the bottom of the parallel channel currently is at $96.71. You can see we're comfortably now trading in the top 50%. If we zoom closer into the daily time frame, we're starting to put in some bullish consolidation here. That does imply we should be breaking this pivot and moving up higher amongst this consolidation. If we do that, the next major resistance will be up here at the top of this parallel channel, just over 100 at 100.7. All right. So that's the near term roadmap for the dollar. And if the dollar does continue pushing, you can almost guarantee the Great Britain pound, the euro, as well as the Australian dollar will also start going downward with the US dollar headed up. So we'll see if we can't break through this major pivot since we are putting in some nice daily bullish consolidation. Next up, we've got the Great Britain pound versus the dollar. And as you see here, we've got a weekly topping tail. Now, when did that occur, folks? That occurred the same week the US dollar put in a weekly bottoming tail. So on all of these charts, or at least the next two, Great Britain pound as well as the euro, you're going to be seeing a massive weekly topping tail, indicating that price likely should be coming down on this chart. And so far, it's actually done a perfect job. Now, we've done a nice retrace up to the mid-range and consolidation of this Great Britain pound over US dollar, but we have not exceeded through that, nor have we gotten back above this weekly topping tail. Now, if we do, for whatever reason, have the dollar lose strength in the coming weeks, we will have resistance on this declining trend line, which is just beyond the weekly topping tail. So we've got a lot of resistance up in this range. Now, the declining trend line's at $1.39, and the weekly topping tail you can see here is at $1.38.6. I'll show you where that declining trend line comes from. That's the origin here from April of 2018, connected over to the pivot highs that occurred over here in February of 2021. So that will be the line in the sand for price action to move up higher. Likely will result in a lot of consolidation, considering we have two big negative impacts and forces right here on the chart with the weekly topping tail and that declining trend line. Now, for support, first level of support on the Great Britain pound USD is going to be at $1.30. Next up, into the euro USD, very similar situation, except for this declining trend line has been hit, tagged, pierced, and rejected multiple occasions, mainly starting with this weekly topping tail, as explained from the Great Britain pound, as well as the DXY that all occurred on January of 26 on the week of January 26th. So we did have a nice decline. That retest on the euro US dollar did a perfect retest of this declining trend line, both of which on the Great Britain pound and on the euro originated back here in February of 2018. So right now, that is the current resistance for any upward momentum. That's going to be at $1.18. Support, though, on the euro is going to be a little bit further down. We will have a little speed bump here at $1.14, but at $1.11.2, that will be a more solid level of support where we could generate enough support and momentum to then potentially reattack that declining trend line. If for whatever reason we get above this declining trend line before this happens, then next stop is going to be at $1.22. Next up, we've got the Australian dollar versus the US dollar. A little bit different pattern that's going on here, guys. If you notice here this week of, in January 26th, right here when weekly topping tails were placed on both the euro as well as the Great Britain pound. That did not happen with the Australian dollar. Matter of fact, we continued pushing up a little bit higher, then had that little decline, then continued pushing up even more. So the Australian dollar is staying a little bit stronger than both the euro and the pound. However, we're getting rejected right now with this 50% area, the parallel. So in order for the Australian dollar to keep pushing up, we need to get above 0.72.2 cents. If we get above that 72-cent threshold and hold on a weekly closing basis, that will increase probabilities for us to push up to the 75.5-cent level. Otherwise, as I said, that's the ceiling with first support at 69.5 cents. And just to give you a clear view of this parallel, it was created from this low pivot in March of 2020. So our COVID lows, and then the top end range was this pivot that occurred over here in 2021. You can see this is a very clean parallel with 2 pivot points here at the bottom. That does state too that if for whatever reason price comes down here into the bottom of the parallel at 61.6 cents, this will be a fantastic level of support, one that also coincides with the low pivot that occurred back here in October. All right, guys, that wraps up today's currency video. So interesting stuff to consider with the Great Britain pound and the euro basically going in the same direction, but the Australian dollar bucking that trend and staying a little bit stronger on its chart. All right, guys, we do a lot of pro chart videos each and every week. All of our pro traders have them right here on our main page. Feel free to view those at your leisure. All for free, guys. Great alpha information and education for you to take home and apply to your own charts. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Drew Dosek. We'll have another video out to you each and every day. Until then, we'll see you guys on the charts. Take care, folks.